Oh, Ellen, thank you so much. Yes, that's right. Thanks for being here. Hi, Savannah. Hi, Amber. Who else didn't I say hi to yet? We were just talking about what people are doing for their business programs for the summer. If you scale back or if just the work never ends.
We scale back and let summer reading take the take the lead, but we do offer a monthly virtual online score workshop, and those are pretty well attended.
Cool. And Christina says they do more business activities in the summer, and Mel says same. Ooh, awesome. Entrepreneur in residence this month. That's awesome. Congrats. I would love to hear more about that. Mel launched a leadership course. Wow. Good work, everybody. Hey, Carly. Hey, Doug. Hey, Robbie. All right, we got a good crew here. Oh, very nice. Okay, so August is Black Business Month, and looks like Milwaukee Public Library program does programming around that. Cool. We're just getting started here with just introductions and updates. So if anyone wants to say hi or tell something that they're working on, we've been talking a little bit about how you do your business programs in the summer, if you scale back or if you do something specific or different than your usual programming. So we'd love to hear about that, or just any other general announcements or updates or questions people want to share before we get started with our presentation.
I just wanted to say thank you from like the feedback that I got whenever I presented, because the recommendation, I had originally said I was going to do 2 cohorts a year of my program, and quite a few people recommended that I only do 1, and my boss was very down for us to only do 1 and to work on other programming at the different times. So I really appreciate that feedback because it was really, really helpful, and it's going to be able to get implemented. So thank you for everybody who recommended that.
Awesome. Thanks, Aubrey. And thanks again for presenting. Hey, Lindsay.
Hello.
How are you?
I'm good. How about yourself?
Very good. Hey, Jennifer. Hey, Kristen. Hey, Dorothy. Good to see folks. We're just getting started. If anyone wants to talk about what they're working on or share an update or a question, we'd love to hear from you all.
I would love to share that we just had our 3rd annual, and it was actually award-winning from the Texas State Library, but we just had our 3rd Youth Entrepreneurship Academy, and it was very successful. We had 4 teams of teens. We had 21 teens participate for 3 days, 3 hours a day, learning about entrepreneurship and presenting a pitch to a business panel. And it was very cool, a lot of fun. And it was SCORE mentors that lead the teams, and they are fantastic, invested people, and they have a great time with it. So very, very neat activity.
That sounds like fun. Yeah, you'll have to.
Yeah.
You'll have to come and do a session for us and tell us more about that. That sounds awesome.
Thanks. We did a little what we learned about working with teens for the international entrepreneurship. What is it called?
The
Libraries
ELC
and Entrepreneurship.
one.
Yeah. We could certainly do that.
Yeah, that'd be great. You have got some questions in the chat. Plano, yes. And did you get the seed money? I think that's for you.
No, I was able to have a sponsor. We had a business that was interested in sponsoring, and really all they did was pay for us to have snacks for teens, because when we kept them 3 hours a day for 3 days in a row, And really, we have them 4 hours on the last day. We let them come early to work on their pitch. We just had snacks and water for them. And then they also gave us prizes for the teens. But this year, our judges or our score mentors said they all work so hard. They all do such a good job. We really hate that only one team gets a prize. We need to have more, something for them all. They all got a certificate, but they want them to get something. So I asked other city departments and they gave me tons of stuff. I had a huge, like a whole thing from our sustainability department where they got bento boxes and they got like beeswax wraps and all these neat gifts. And from all over the city. Actually, people put different things in. So all the kids got something. And of course, they got kudos and they got the opportunity to build presentation skills as well as learning about building a business. Yeah, it was very cool.
Very cool. That's awesome. Anybody else want to share?
I can share here in Toledo, I taught a class today. I'm exhausted, but here, let's see how tired I look. Here in Toledo, we are having a grand opening of a new workspace. So it's on the main floor of our library and it's really great. It has like workstations where individual small business owners could work, and it has a couple smart boards and different things. We'll be able to invite our partners in, and what that will enable our department to do that we couldn't do before is have drop-in hours. So just to be a little bit more accessible to our community when it's convenient for them. So I don't think that many of you are close to Toledo, Ohio, but if you are, we're having a grand opening on Monday, June 24th at 3 p.m. We'll be happy to see you.
Thank you. I would love to attend. That sounds awesome, and congratulations. Anybody else want to share anything going on?
Brooklyn Public Library has Power Up. We're past the programming stage, and now we're at the hard for the librarians part, which is when all of our participants ask to go and speak to us for a half hour to go and do all their business research for them, which we don't. And instead we go and we show them how to go and use tools. And we also are going to go and have some public programs on how to go and use our resources to find out about your competitors and your industry and also your customers. So, which we do every year, but it feels like this is the biggest class of Power Up participants that we've ever had. I think between 200 people went and applied and got in this year. So it's going to be a very, very hectic June and July July and August for us.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's exciting. Yeah. Would love to hear more once we get underway and everything. That's great. Anybody else? What's going on? It's nice to see so many folks here today. Thanks for being here.
Hi, everyone. Hey, Megan.
Hey, Kelly.
Kelly Forkenbrock with North Liberty Library. One update is that I'm starting to plan the second event based on the event that I got my certification in, which is called Business Beyond Borders. It is a paneled conversation. We did our first one last July where we featured a panel of immigrants who live in the Iowa City, Coralville, North Liberty area who are also entrepreneurs, and gave them an opportunity to share their entrepreneurial journey from the perspective of being an immigrant new to the country. So I'm going to be working with someone who's a longtime patron of ours who meets here every week. I just happened to come across them and notice that they meet here every Monday night with with their collective, with their entrepreneurial collective. So I'm going to be meeting with him next Monday to start planning the panel, hopefully getting some fresh faces. I also want to try to get some younger faces on the panel. I think the panel we first had with the first event last year, they were much more established entrepreneurs. They'd been in our community for at least a decade, some of them for almost 30 years. So I'm really interested in skewing it to younger immigrant entrepreneurs. So I'm hoping that my meeting on Monday will be the spark to begin planning for this second event. And again, this event came about from the certification and the idea of, really building a community of a community of entrepreneurs, especially those who are not originally from this country. So really looking forward to that. More to come on the second event.
Super exciting. Thanks, Kelly. Yeah, looking forward to the update as well.
One more
Anything-
interesting thing from here in Toledo that I want to share. So our library about a month ago invested in a new database, and as far as I can tell, the company does not have an extensive amount of experience working with libraries, so it's kind of experimental. But one of the things that I've been doing is teaching a lot of our marketing classes, and one of the things that I know is that when a small business or nonprofit can get media exposure, their web analytics jump, their sales jump, everything jumps, right? But doing media relations is inherently difficult because in a market at least as small as ours, the players change all the time, the reporters change all the time. And so we were able to invest in Notified, which is a media database. So you can look up your traditional media contacts like TV and newspaper, but you can also look up people by beat, which is like, it can take some time for a small business owner, and you can look up like podcasters and freelance journalists and all kinds of things. So TBD how frequently it gets used, but I've developed a media relations class to teach along with it. And so fingers crossed that helps some people get their businesses noticed on a little bit wider stage.
That's super interesting. I love that. And I love connecting that to like a business need specifically. I think that's really cool.
Lindsay, are you able to go and use that program to go and send out press releases? Because I think we're like the only library that's got Cision, but it is super expensive. And if there's an
Yeah, so
alternative, yeah.
you can use Notified to send out press releases. We have that disabled because they don't work with libraries by standard. They really didn't have the software development sophisticated enough to like have a customer log in with their library card and only send out a press release for their company. So if we left that on, it would just be like sending from business@toledolibrary.org. So they're not going to be able to send it out, but they can at least look up the contacts. But it did have a lot of features, like you can send press releases from it. You can do media monitoring with it. It had a lot of other bells and whistles. It didn't make sense for us. But like if it was our marketing department using it, yeah, it seemed pretty powerful. Enough of the stuff that I looked at, I would say it was one of the more budget options. So feel free to email me if you want. I can send you what I have.
No, thank you. I mean, Cision's wonderful, but it's a very large product for
Yeah.
what might not necessarily, and it doesn't have a lot of these new web channels that are showing up, although I don't know if Notify has that either.
Got it. A little bit. It's got like Facebook, Twitter, it's got podcasts, it's got some freelance journalists, it's got like blog writers and things, but as far as I could tell, it's not pulling like someone's TikTok,
Yeah,
ad,
that's what everyone's
so
asking. Yeah,
yeah.
and it's very difficult to go. None of them are influencer databases.
Yeah,
So
I think that maybe Prowly, I'll have to look, email me after, but one of the ones that I looked at, I think maybe did have some influencer information, but it was like 20 grand or something. And this is kind of an experiment for us to see if our patrons are even going to use it. So that seemed way off limits.
thank you.
Yeah.
And Lindsay, you said it was called Notified, right? the database?
Yeah, the one we're using is Notified. I also looked at Prowly and one other one that I can't remember, but yeah, that one was the one that was like the sweet spot for budget and then like the way they were willing to do the package, so it worked for the library.
Great. Anybody else want to say hi or tell us what you're working on? I've got just a couple of announcements before I hand it over to Adam. First of all, ALA Annual is right around the corner, just a couple of weeks away. Jim and I are working on a list of business-related programs, so we should have that out in the next couple of days. So if you're attending Annual, first of all, if you're attending Annual, let me know. I'd love to see you there. But if you're attending Annual, we're putting together a list of great programs, so that if you're interested in economic opportunity and entrepreneurship, business, you know where to go. So stay tuned for that. We have our regularly scheduled July LBB meeting. We have someone coming from EcoMap Technologies to talk about mapping your community and the resources that are already there. So he'll be coming in July, and then we're going to cancel the August meeting for the summer. So just to give everybody, August is a big travel month, a big transition month. People go back to school. So we'll pick back up in September. So come back here in July, take a break in August, and then September we'll be back to our regular programs. And with that said, I'm looking for fall speakers. So if you want to share something you've been working on or a highlight or facilitate a discussion for this group, reach out to me, let me know. I'd love to have you. It's a lot of fun. So yeah, that'd be great. Speaking of, if you have missed a past meeting, we record all of the meetings and we post them on our YouTube page. I'm going to drop the link in the chat so you can catch up on any meetings you loved or that you missed and want to watch there. I think that's it for me. This is the Libraries Build Business monthly community discussion. These are peer-to-peer, informal. Feel free to unmute to ask a question or chime in at any point. We'd love to hear from you. We have Adam Pitts today from the Gwinnett County Public Library to be our featured speaker. He's going to talk to us about the new Start Entrepreneurship Initiative. Yeah, so Adam, I'll let you take it away.
All right, thanks, Megan. Well,
Thank
hi,
you.
everyone. Yeah, my name is Adam Pitts. I'm with the Gwinnett County Public Library. I'm going to, let me pull up my slides. Can everybody see that now? No? Good. Okay, great. All right. So yeah, I want to tell you a little bit about our entrepreneurship initiative called the New Start Entrepreneurship Incubator, or New Start as we call it for short. It originated in 2021 as part of the Libraries Build Business grant. So we were one of the 13 libraries selected nationally to participate in that grant. And it is a 6-month course designed exclusively for formerly incarcerated individuals who want to learn how to start and run a small business. So since its launch 3 years ago, we have completed 3 of those 6-month cohorts. They average about 10 to 15 students each. And in total, 29 entrepreneurs have graduated from this program so far. And as a matter of fact, we are currently in the middle of our 4th cohort, and this Saturday is our graduation ceremony. So another round of graduates this Saturday. And yeah, I'll just kind of gloss over this slide. This is the map of all the Libraries Build Business libraries that participated. You know, it prioritized low income and underrepresented entrepreneurs. So we focused exclusively on formerly incarcerated people for our project. But I will tell you about this playbook that some of you may not be aware of. It's called the Libraries Build Business Playbook. It was published in February of 2022. And it does a great job of breaking down each of those 13 projects. So if you want, this is available for free online. Just Google Libraries Build Business Playbook and take a look. It's also has some great tips for how to build partnerships in the community that could be applicable to any library or any project. All right, so here is our logo for the New Start project. This logo was actually designed in-house by one of our Learning Lab specialists. So again, it's a 6-month course. The only requirement is to have previously served time in jail or prison. That's the only criteria for joining. The overall purpose of the program is to provide formerly incarcerated people with the support and knowledge that they need to successfully start a small business. It consists of monthly in-person classes at one of our branches where the students hear from local business experts on topics such as how to write a business plan, how to research your target market, financial basics, and business structuring. So really all the things the essentials that you need to know to be a successful entrepreneur. And then after those monthly meetings, the students complete online coursework at their own pace. So you might be wondering why we decided to focus on formerly incarcerated people for our project. Well, for one thing, we found that there weren't a lot of support resources in our community for that group. People affected by the stigma of incarceration are really overlooked, we found. It's really a stigma that sticks with them the rest of their lives, when they're applying for jobs, when the background check comes back and it turns out they've served time that often ends their job search. It precludes people from work that they're otherwise qualified to do. And in a lot of cases, entrepreneurship is the only avenue if they want to support themselves and their families in a meaningful way. So let's look at the numbers real quick. Gwinnett County in the state of Georgia has the highest population, has a population of right around 1 million residents. And at any given time, about 2,500 people are incarcerated in Gwinnett County. So that might not sound like a large number in a county as large as ours, but you've got to remember that those are people who are currently in jail, and it doesn't account for people who have been incarcerated and released, or people incarcerated from other counties or states who have moved into Gwinnett County. So in fact, of all of those counties in the state of Georgia, Gwinnett has the highest population affected by the stigma and barriers that come with incarceration. In Gwinnett, it is a disproportionately minority population with an average education level of 10th grade. So again, those are other disadvantages and barriers. Partnerships have been really vital to our program. We began by reaching out to the Greater Gwinnett Reentry Alliance and providing workshops on the free resources available through the library. This progressed into working with the Georgia Department of Community Supervision and the Gwinnett Entrepreneur Center. Through our work with the community, it quickly became apparent that there was a need for those who are formerly incarcerated to overcome the barriers to meaningful employment. So our New Start team consists of 5 staff members, actually 6. We have a volunteer who was previously an employee of the library. She now volunteers as on the team, but is myself as the project manager. Actually, I need to update this slide because Atlas has moved on to another position at another library, but it's Heather Smith who has taken her role. Terry Preston, who's on the call with us today, she's the Library Systems Volunteer Program Manager, and she coordinates the mentor component for this project. Ron Gauthier, who is our Youth Services Community Partnerships Manager for Gwinnett County Library, and then Andrea Devereaux. Her position is called Outreach Coordinator. She was previously a social work intern at one of our branches, and then we brought her back on board as kind of a wraparound service to support our students since they do have those additional challenges and barriers having been previously incarcerated. So just to give you an overview of the monthly topics, month 1 covers mindset. We put that at the very beginning because we felt that that was such a vital part of entrepreneurship, especially for people who have come from, struggled and come from a background of incarceration. Month 2 is creating a business plan. So all of the parts and pieces of a business and outlining the path your business will take, we cover that. Month 3 is financial basics. So we go into the basics of accounting and what makes a business profitable. Month 4 covers marketing and branding. So researching your target market. You may have heard of Reference USA, or I think it's called Data Axle now. That's one of the databases that we do a presentation on. Logo design. Each student designs their own logo if they don't already have one at one of our Learning Lab maker spaces. Month 5 is legal considerations and business structuring. So if they are going to do like a sole proprietorship, for example, or an LLC, taxes and hiring considerations. And then finally, month 6, which we just did a week ago for this round, is finding funding. So outside sources of funding that can help sustain their businesses. And then the curriculum. So here's a screenshot of the online curriculum. This is completing following each of the in-person meetings at the student's own pace. We use free resources and library databases to create this, including lynda.com and Brian Hamilton's Starter U. That's just a freely available resource online. We supplement those with irs.gov, the SBA website, and others. And we also include an assessment component at the end of each month to see how well the students are engaging with the content. When they submit that monthly evaluation, that kind of unlocks the content. We actually don't give them the entire curriculum up front, and I'll talk a little bit about this later, but we did this during our first round. We gave them the complete curriculum at the very beginning, and we found that some people were skipping ahead, which led to kind of a loss of engagement. So we do ask that they complete that assessment at the end of each month, and then we send them the next month's content just to kind of help them keep pace. And here's a look at a screenshot of one of the resources that we use extensively. It's called the Entrepreneurship Mindset Training Course, or the also called the Ice House Entrepreneurship Program. It really focuses on developing the mindset of an entrepreneur. So again, that's really something we do prioritize throughout this program. Okay, so we did take into consideration technology barriers, because somebody who served time in jail or prison, they get out, they may not have access, to internet at home right off the bat. So we use some of the grant funds to purchase a laptop or laptops and hotspots, and we put them together in these kits called entrepreneurship kits, which the students can borrow as long as they're enrolled in the course. They're available just upon request. And we have found that there's been a definite need for them. Not all the students will request one, but usually at least 3 or 4 per cohort will. And we've actually seen some students try to do the coursework on their smartphones, which obviously is not ideal. So this has definitely been a worthwhile investment in the program. And then additionally, we purchased these books that correspond to the monthly topics. We make these available to the students for free. They get to keep them. It supplements the monthly topics. So for example, for the month on creating business plans, we selected the one called Nolo's How to Write a Business Plan. So by the end of the course, the students actually end up with kind of a small entrepreneurship reference collection that they can refer back to over and over. And these books were selected based on recommendations from our mentors. So not just the New Start team acting alone there, but we actually consulted our mentors to see what they recommended. Another thing that we have kind of an enhancement we have done to the program over the over successive cohorts is added these incentive laptops. So if a student completes the course in good standing, meaning that they've missed no more than one of the in-person classes, then they get a refurbished Lenovo laptop to keep at the end of the course. And these are actually very nice laptops. We actually just got in a set for the graduation on Saturday, and they're really nice. They just have to complete the course in good standing to receive one. But since technology has been a barrier, we thought this was a great way to continue to support the students once they've completed the course and are beginning to really grow their businesses. And then what I really think is one of the most important aspects of this whole project, which I've talked a little bit before, is the mentorship component, because the students receive one-on-one support. through these volunteer mentors. Each student is paired with a mentor experience in the business area they are pursuing. So for example, if somebody's trying to start a landscaping business, we would pair them with somebody with that background, with that business background. Many of the mentors are affiliated with SCORE. Some are local business leaders who have, led workshops or programs for the library previously. And then some have just been referrals from other mentors. They guide the students throughout the business startup process, and they're available to answer the students' questions that, come up along the way. We just ask that the students communicate with the mentors at least once per month. Often it ends up being more than that.
Okay.
And we don't require it, but several of the mentors attend the monthly classes to support their mentees. And I think all of the ones who are graduating on Saturday, I believe all of their mentors are coming to graduation as well. So it's really nice. And yeah, here's what graduation kind of looks like. This is our pictures of our second and our third cohorts. You can tell that second cohort was kind of in the middle of COVID because of everybody with the masks on. But it worked out well. So you can't see it off camera, but the rooms were filled with the family and friends. We invited them as well to celebrate their accomplishments. So we actually had a pretty big crowd, probably 40 to 60 people at each of these. And each student's presented with a certificate by our executive director, Charles Pace. All right. And so while the graduation ceremony is officially the end of the course, the students who complete in good standing, again, missing no more than one class, are eligible to participate in Launchpad, which is a business pitch competition based on Shark Tank. So it is held about 1 month after graduation to give the participants time to prepare and refine their business pitches. We bring in a panel of 5 business experts who are not familiar with the students or their projects to score the pitches and provide feedback. They can also potentially win cash prizes to offset their startup costs. You're looking at Bridgette Simpson in this photo. She was our first place winner last year. She won $2,500 for her catering and food truck business, which is called Hot Sticky Buns. But she did a great presentation. We also have a Launchpad prep workshop beforehand. Actually, it's a couple weeks beforehand to really help them refine their pitches and do mock presentations. Our next 2 winners from the last round were Dewey Ventura Joa, who has started an online MMA instructional series. It's called Cholo MMA. And then Mia Jacobs, who designed an interior decorating app called Decoro. And Dewey is doing really great with his business. He has over 150,000 Instagram followers now. And I know he just posted a TikTok video recently that has over 1.5 million views. He got $1,500 as our second place winner, and then Mia won $1,000 for third place. Also worth mentioning, Dewey, we have invited him back to be one of our Launchpad panelists for this upcoming round. So we really look for ways for our most successful students to kind of reincorporate them back into the program if we can. Naomi Jones, who was one of our graduates from the second cohort, is actually one of our mentors this round. So she's done quite well. We actually have a video at the end of this presentation featuring her success story. So hopefully we'll have time to look at that. But here's just a look at the business logos of those 3 students that we just talked about. Again, they can work with our Learning Lab staff to create these, or they can do it on their own. 9 of our branches have Learning Lab maker spaces. So we have audiovisual equipment and fabrication equipment, editing software. It's all free. It's been a really useful resource for entrepreneurs who are looking for cost-effective ways to create marketing materials for their businesses. And Launchpad, so we don't just, give the panelists, just tell them, score based on, just arbitrarily. We have a rubric on a 1 to 4 scale to critique each business pitch. It is, we include categories such as, the introduction, how strong is engaging is the business pitch introduction, how well prepared and organized are they? How knowledgeable are they about their service or product and the target market? We also take into consideration how persuasive and compelling their pitch is, the delivery, how effective that is, and then closing. Do they end on a strong note? And below this, you can't see it, is a field where each panelist writes individualized feedback. So not everybody is guaranteed to get funding, but everybody definitely does get advice and feedback from each of the panelists. So that's very helpful. In fact, at the end of the pitch, it's usually there's a 10 to 15 minute Q&A, just like on Shark Tank, where the panelists will ask the student questions about their presentation to get more information and maybe, provide some feedback on the spot. All right, so I want to talk a little bit here about challenges and improvements that we've made to the course along the way. During the first cohort of the program, we realized that the main challenges were retention and engagement and communication. And again, this was launched during COVID, so that was an extra layer of challenge because it had to be done entirely virtually. It wasn't until the second cohort that we had these in-person meetings. But what we started doing is sending reminders before each class. That's been a great strategy. And Andrea, our outreach coordinator, actually calls them a few days before each class just to check in with them and kind of motivate them, give them a little pep talk if they're having some self-doubts. They, again, are expected to communicate regularly with their mentors at least once a month. And then the monthly evaluation that I talked about has also been a great way for keeping the students on track. Marketing, that's been another big thing. Targeted marketing, both in person and online, has really been key to reaching our intended audience and ensuring that we have a good applicant pool. So we use some of the grant funding to hire a production crew to actually design and create a marketing video that would get the word out effectively and inspire, potential students to apply. So assuming this works, I'll play this quick clip for you just to see what that looks like.
The biggest challenge that a formerly incarcerated person faces is stigma behind their incarceration or their criminal record. We will enable people to secure skills to become entrepreneurs.
You have to be determined to want to change in order to change.
Writing a business plan,
Advertising,
accounting, marketing, so you can be really clear and coherent about how do you actually start a business.
put your mind to it, you can do anything.
So yeah, we felt that really turned out well. It really did make a big difference in the number of people interested in the program. And of course, we did the more traditional route too. We did, trifold brochures and flyers that we posted in our branches and, reached out to all of our community partners. But this was posted on social media and it was very effective. Oops. Okay. We also learned that slightly over-enrolling the cohorts kind of helped mitigate some of the attrition that we were getting. Really with a program like this, I mean, entrepreneurship's not for everybody. And sometimes until you get into it, you don't really realize, all that's involved with it. So we do have, not a 100% retention rate, but it's still very good. But by over-enrolling, that ensures that we hit that target of 10 to 15 students by the end of the course. And really, we keep it at that size so that we can provide that one-on-one support that we're looking for. And so we send out those reminders and the phone calls before each of the classes. We talked about some of the incentives, like the books that they get, and then, the incentive laptop if they complete in good standing. And also the option to participate in Launchpad. And I think I talked about this already, but releasing the curriculum in monthly increments instead of all upfront. So as you can see here, this is month 1. So month 2 and month 3 are kind of have little padlock symbols next to them with just the topics and the speaker for the next month. So, so once they send us that evaluation, then we send them, the month 2 and month 3 and so on and so forth. But these are just live links. They just click on the links and that takes them right to the resource they need to go to for the curriculum. And then here's just a quick look at what that monthly evaluation looks like. It's just in Google Forms. It's not a test of the content really, it's just kind of a checkpoint for the students. And it also has some fields at the bottom to alert us if they're have any questions or concerns or need some additional help. It also has been helpful in making improvements to the program. We use these Likert scale questions to assess, how well they, what they got out of the monthly presentations or the coursework or the book. And then we can kind of tweak things, based on the feedback we get. And we've also incorporated a couple of workshops along the way. First round, we didn't. We found that we really needed to go more in depth with business planning, since that's such an important aspect of starting a small business and not encountering surprises later when your math doesn't add up. So we did this on a Saturday. It's about a 3 to 4 hour workshop, where we bring in somebody who's really specializes in that and helps the students, kind of refine their business plans. And he has offered to review it with them individually afterwards. And then the Launchpad Prep workshop that I mentioned, where we do the mock presentations. Again, that was on a Saturday, lasted for a few hours. It's also been a powerful bonding experience for the participants, because it's really it's very interactive. Even the students kind of, chime in during the mock presentations and give each other kind of feedback and pointers. So it's been a great way to kind of build camaraderie, I guess, among the students. And finally, we've, learned about the importance of sensitivity and using people first language. You hear the labels like ex-offender, convicted felon in the media all the time. But when you're working with disadvantaged groups or individuals, you really want to offer language that puts the person first. So consider things like formerly incarcerated or justice involved, instead of ex-con. We had initially used the term returning citizens at the beginning of the program, but we later realized that was kind of vague. It didn't really, kind of exclusionary too. So we really have settled on formerly incarcerated and then justice impacted as well. And then of course, be careful not to generalize. Formerly incarcerated people come from all walks of life, and they represent really a spectrum of educational and occupational backgrounds. So you never want to assume, their levels of knowledge or experience. And then lastly, we've come to realize that they often have privacy concerns due to the sensitive nature of their backgrounds. We always ask permission before taking photos or video. It's really just kind of a matter of striking the right balance for your group and your program. So before I wrap up, I think there's still time. I want to leave a few minutes for Q&A, but here's one of our success stories. This is Shartezia Griffin. She started a residential and commercial cleaning company, which now has, at last check, it was 14 full-time employees, with, I think it's over I think she mentions this in the video, but over 40 contracts in Gwinnett and Fulton counties. So here's that video.
I'm Shartezia Griffin, and thanks to the library, I have my own business. What we're gonna do is get started. Let me show you where all of the supplies you're gonna need are. I own Diamond Shine Enterprises. We are a commercial and residential cleaning service. I currently have about 14 employees and almost 40 contracts from Gwinnett County to Fulton County. I heard someone from the library speak about this program, and I couldn't believe that something like that existed, number one. And of course, it's too good to be true. Like, for free, we're gonna work.
I'm the project manager of the new Start Entrepreneurship Incubator, and it is a 6-month program for formerly incarcerated individuals who want to start a small business.
I did serve 15 years in the Georgia Correctional Facility, but I'm grateful for that. I'm grateful for that because I came from a very traumatic place. I didn't know anything. I didn't know that I had options, and being able to be snatched out of that current and see and understand that this was not okay. I learned to live a different way.
The students attend monthly classes at our Lowburn branch, where they hear from small business experts on topics such as marketing and branding and how to draft a business plan. And then they complete an online curriculum afterwards and also receive one-on-one support from a mentor.
Life after incarceration is possible. We don't have to do certain things or live certain places or work certain, we can be whatever we so choose to.
Shartizia is a real success story of this program. She's well on her way to being a successful entrepreneur.
This program is life-changing. You had a dream when you were young. You wanted to be or do something. Be and do it. Because you have the capacity to and the ability to, and through that library, you'll have the support to.
All right, so yeah, that's Shartizia. She was one of our second cohort participants. And her business was actually selected as Best of Gwinnett in the awards that we have a magazine called Gwinnett Magazine, and they do a Best of Gwinnett award each year, and she won in the cleaning services category for both 2022 and 23. And those are based on nominations and votes from the local community. So that was great to hear. Now this is Naomi Jones. I mentioned she was in our third cohort, and she's actually one of our mentors for this round. We have a student who is doing catering, and that's what Naomi's background is in. So here is the story featuring Naomi.
My name is Chef Naomi Jones, and I'm the owner and operator at Gwinnett Empire Catering. I love to cook. I do believe that it's a gift that I have, and I wanted to share it with everybody. It was really important to me to be in control of my own destiny. It was a passion of mine to become a chef and to not have the door slammed in my face anymore.
The name of the program is the New Start Entrepreneurship Incubator. We call it New Start for short. The New Start program is designed to help formerly incarcerated men and women become successful by starting their own businesses.
Once I came out of prison, getting a job was really hard. Everything seemed good at first until the fingerprints came back. And all of a sudden, I was no longer qualified. And that was actually the beginning of me making a decision to work for myself.
This program is necessary because we help them sort of break those shackles, develop an income, a livelihood, and just a way of life where they can be successful.
I knew what I wanted to do, but the idea of starting a business was quite overwhelming. I didn't know where to go with it. And because of the New Start Entrepreneurship Program, I was afforded a business mentor who was able to help me through the process. One of the things that we did differently was we brought two cultures together that you don't often see, if ever. And that's Cajun and an Afro-Latino culture. It's an explosion of flavor in your mouth. So you get sweet, savory, spicy, tangy, all of those flavors into one. I graduated from the New Start program. Shortly after that, I had the opportunity to serve a little luncheon to the mayor of Lawrenceville. In June, I was able to cater the wedding of one of Georgia's state senators.
Naomi is another one of those incredible success stories. Naomi is highly motivated, ingenious, and she knew what she wanted to do, so she knew she wanted to cook. And she's doing very well with it, so we're really proud of her.
This is whipped feta and goat cheese with roasted peppers and tomatoes and a little light spinach garnish. We named the business Gwinnett Empire Catering because the number one thing we wanted to do was leave something behind, leave a legacy for our children, something more than the label that says I was a prisoner, something that says my mom was a chef and she built this for me.
Right, so yeah, that's Naomi. She's done a great job of mentoring also. She's been so supportive of our project and wanting to give back. We actually have another video coming up soon featuring one of the current cohort students. Her name is Joanna Ortiz, and she has a roofing company already. And so that video will be out soon, and will feature her and her mentor. It's not Naomi, but it's another one of the mentors. So that should be really good. Yeah, I'm happy to answer any questions anyone may have. Let me come out of sharing mode here. And I have a couple in the chat, so maybe I can address those first. Let's see. Are we still looking at the presentation? Or
No, you're good.
We're good. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So let's see. the chat, yeah, somebody asked, where does the prize money come from for the Launchpad Awards? That doesn't come from the grant, actually. That comes from the Gwinnett Library Foundation. So that money is raised separately. And we're actually hoping to increase that amount for this year. And then have you thought about starting this in jails or prisons? Well, that's kind of where we got our start in terms of working with this population, but we've really wanted to focus on formerly incarcerated people, mainly because we found that once they've been out of jail long enough just to kind of get reestablished a little bit, they're in a better spot to really think about starting a small business at that point. Really the focus of our working with currently incarcerated people has been about informing them of our library resources that they want to know about. So as soon as they are released, they can, take advantage of those. But because of the nature of this program, it is pretty involved. We found that people have usually been out for a little while and kind of gotten themselves reestablished just a little bit before they're ready for that next step. And then somebody, Lucretia just asked, how did these entrepreneurs overcome funding issues and securing loans to start? Well, that has been a challenge because in many cases, there's not a lot of grant money out there for startups. So really, that's one of the reasons why we started Launchpad. It's not a huge amount, but it's, maybe something to get them started and account for some of those startup costs. So that's kind of what we're able to do. A lot of our students have also had to really bootstrap their businesses. They start really small. Sometimes, something service related like landscaping or, that doesn't have high startup costs or overhead. You don't have to rent a building or something like you would for a restaurant. So they start small and kind of work their way up. And then do you get referrals from parole officers? Yeah, so we have shared all of this information with the Georgia Department of Community Supervision, people who work with parolees and previously incarcerated people. So yeah, we've definitely worked with law enforcement and other channels to get the word out. And yeah, Jorge, you said you'd love to reach out. That would be great. Yeah, let me put my email address in the chats for whoever has questions or wants to get in touch. I'd be happy to do that. Here it is. That's my email address. So,
and I can't spell this word, but has it prevented recidivism? Has there been that study yet?
Well, that's one of the goals. It's awfully hard to measure, like it because of the scale of what we're doing. I mean, we've had 29 graduates, so it's hard to say if it's had but our hope is that, as other libraries maybe replicate this program or do something similar, that on a larger scale, eventually it would. Everything we've talked about is scalable. You don't have to start with a grant. You can start small and do a lot of this stuff because we, relied a lot on volunteers and free resources. I know St. Louis County Public Library has started a similar program. In fact, I think it's called Launchpad. They've been in touch with us and we've shared some information and they've started a similar program. So hopefully, if it spreads and that's kind of the idea that, if somebody's employed, they're a lot less likely to end up back in jail or prison. Obviously, if you can't support yourself through employment, you're much more likely to be reincarcerated. So I'd like to think on at least a small scale that it's having that impact. Yes.
I'm sorry if this may have been mentioned earlier in the presentation, but are there any support services offered for program participants as they're going through? Because I could see that being a barrier if they're also having, trouble with, insecurities with food, housing, etc.
Yeah, that's really been the role of our outreach coordinator, Andrea Devereaux, because of her background in social work. She has her MSW. So that's one of the reasons why we created that position, that she can refer them to those community resources and connect them with that. There are resources, co-ops, other, ministries, things like that locally that provide utilities assistance, food. So yes, that's out there. It's just kind of a matter of connecting them to it. I saw your chat note there, Jennifer, about the pivot program. That's interesting. I'll check that out. Oh, any other questions? Well, thank you all so much. I really appreciate it. It's really been an honor to be part of this project. And we got another graduation coming up. So a lot more success stories on the way. We hope to do this again starting next January. We're kind of on a yearly cycle now where we do interviews starting around October. We have the online application, do the interviews, and then we're ready to start with our cohort in January. So more success stories on the way.
Thank you, Adam. This was really great.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone. Yeah, let us know about your next graduation if you have pictures to share or that new video that you said is coming. We'd love to see that. So definitely keep us in the loop. Does anybody else have questions?
Actually, our pivot program started to provide skills for the return. We call them returning citizens, but now we're calling them formerly incarcerated, like you. And we found the box was too much of a barrier, and that actually the success is in the entrepreneurship, because they don't have to then face that box. They have to just find, a community bank or some service that supplies them. But there are banking regulations that require the local community banks to support initiatives like this so they can take a higher risk. So don't think the banks will be negative to this. Just remember remember the CRA, their Community Reinvestment Act, because that is mandated by the federal government and the Federal Reserve to provide loans or other programs. And they could be a partner also with your programs to sponsor some stuff and as well. But CRA, this is a very underknown thing that banks have to provide.
Okay.
But it's banks, not credit unions.
Okay. All right. Yeah, I'll check that out for sure.
I just remember we have an exit ticket for those of you that are still here. Just to let us know what you thought of today, what future topics you would like to see in this group. You can let me know if you'd like to present. Just a 30-second feedback form. So we'd welcome your feedback there. And then Adam, thanks again. This was awesome. It was great to hear from you and hear what's going on. I'll leave the line open for the next couple of minutes, but if anybody has questions or wants to chat, but otherwise have a great rest of your afternoon and hope to see you at annual and hope to see you in July.
Thanks, everybody.